So I say D. I say D-O. D-O-D. D-O-D-G. D-O-D-D-E-R-S. Team, 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 team. Oh, I say O-M. O-M-A. O-M-A-L. O-M-A-L-L-E-Y. Oh, really? No O'Malley.
Oh, really? No O'Malley. We are back. Dodger Baseball, A Tale of Two Cities, brought to you by the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. That's a little Danny Kaye in the background. Peter Trunk, the host, is on assignment. So they call in the old man. I'm Ralph Tyko.
There you
go. Not that old, right, Bernie?
Nope, not yet.
All right. Yes. Pretty damn old. No matter how you say it. Bernie Rose, Linda M. Wilson. Bernie goes by Barn, at least where I grew up, in Jackson Heights, New York. And we're going to talk a little Dodger baseball. I'm going to start it off with Linda because Linda reminded me when I thought mistakenly that it was Don Newcombe's 90th birthday today. In fact, it was Don Newcombe's 90th birthday yesterday.
Right.
Makes no mind, we're going to pay him some homage.
That's great.
I want to start with Linda because ladies feist around here.
Okay.
Memories of Don, any way he's affected your life. Most of his great years, of course, with the Dodgers were in Brooklyn. He did pitch a little in L.A. What are your memories of Don Newcombe?
Well, actually, he would have retired before I was old enough to really be into baseball seriously. And the thing that I like is that he's always been connected with the Dodgers. He's still the special advisor to the chair, and he's been with the organization for, given a break when he was pitching for the Reds or whatever team it was. He's been with
I think it was the Reds, yes.
Well, he's been with the Dodgers most of the last 65 years or so, and had a great career, probably only missing out on the Hall of Fame because of his Korean War service. That's what I'm guessing, because, otherwise, he's got great numbers. He had 2 years that he missed due to the war. Let's see. He's always a comforting presence to me at the stadium when I go to games. He's always there. You have that past link to the Brooklyn Dodger days, just like you have Vin Scully. But we're not going to have Vin Scully much longer. So
no.
I just respect Don Newcombe so much. I love hearing his old stories about being Jackie Robinson's teammate, about all the great glory days in Brooklyn, and it's comforting to have that link still around and see him at the stadium. You mentioned that you thought that his birthday was today, but I'll tell you, a lot of people were mistakenly believing that it was last Wednesday because that's the night that they honored him at Dodger Stadium. They gave him a birthday cake.
Was he there, in fact?
Oh yeah, he's got quite a few home games he makes it to. And that's what I mean when I say it's always comforting to see him out and about. He's always so well-dressed.
Nice.
Such a
90
gentleman.
years old.
Yeah.
From what I understand, he has his senses. He's got,
yes.
Which is nice. We need role models to bring us into our really later years. And we need the ones that make it through in relatively good health and mentally and physically. Because
he's definitely all there, and he's just a link to the generations, and even the young kids that are great grandchildren of people that would have grown up when Newcombe was pitching. Even the kids all like him. They have that sense of history, and they know how important he is to the organization. So anyway, last Wednesday, the Dodgers gave away a bobblehead of him at that game, and they had a birthday cake for him a little bit early because they were going to be on the road on his real birthday.
Real nice. That's I'll tell you what, I've been a Giant fan all my life, and I have to tell you that the Dodgers come up and show class every now and again, and that's I like to see that. Bernie, memories of Nuke when you were a kid? Anything that?
Yeah. Well, I'm almost 5 years younger than you, so by the time I don't remember so much of watching him pitch, kind of like Linda was talking about. I remember just seeing him connected to the Dodgers all the time, and he always just seemed like a classy guy. And this goes back, into the 60s and 70s, because, I looked up some stats, and I've seen interviews with him, and I've seen him, just do things on TV with the Dodgers, and so he's always been around. But the fact is, when the Dodgers left town after the 57 season, he played for them in 58, and that was it.
Right.
He went to the Reds in 58 and stayed with them through 60 or into 60, and then he was with the Indians, and then I think he retired. So
Bernie,
really,
are you 2 years younger than Mert, or more?
No, you always think I'm 2 years younger, but Mert's 4 years and 3 months older than me.
Oh,
You're a few months older than Mert. Your birthday's in like November or something.
I know. I'm older than dirt. I think
so you're almost 5 years older than me. So that's why I don't remember that so much. Even though I was a big Dodgers fan, and I remember watching all the World Series every year, if it was the Yankees, the Dodgers, or whomever. And even as a kid, I'm remembering saying, wow, they won. They're only out there 2 years, and look what happened here. Everybody was always freaking out. But anyway, I looked up some stats here and some interesting information. The very first year of the Cy Young Award was 56.
Right.
They didn't give it out before then. So who won it? Nuke.
Newcombe.
Nuke.
Yeah.
He also won the Rookie of the Year in 1949.
He was an MVP.
And he also won the MVP in 56 as well as the Cy Young Award. And no other pitcher had won those three awards until Justin Verlander 5 years ago.
Right.
He had the Rookie of the Year and then the Most Valuable Player and the Cy Young. That's amazing in itself, isn't it?
And he won the Cy Young
year. He started the first game in the World Series, and he pitched very, very well. They came up short. They lost. He never ended up winning a World Series game. He didn't pitch well in the series, and he got a very, very bad rap. First game he pitched well. After that, he didn't. He got a very, very bad rap for never coming up big and, the big game in the series and all that.
Yeah. Well, I guess, in 55 they won, and maybe he didn't get a win. I don't know how prominently, he figured in that. But in 56, like I said, here he is. He's the MVP, he's the Cy Young winner, and they lost to the Yankees, and unfortunately, the guy on the other team pitched a perfect game.
Yeah.
Yes, awesome.
Would have been nice if it was Newcombe, but.
Absolutely. From that level, from that standpoint, he did get that bad rap, but I stood up for him on a post on Facebook in advance when somebody posted his baseball card. I said, how did they get to those World Series without him? They would not have. So.
There's no question. Yeah.
No,
they had a lot of great players, but
was it 56 when he won 27 games? If I'm not mistaken, it was.
I think so.
He
was the first black pitcher to win 20 games in a season.
Right.
And he was obviously the first pitcher to win the National League MVP.
Yeah.
And Cy Young in the same season. So until a couple of other people might have done that. I think Vida Blue might have done it.
Clayton Kershaw. Clayton
Yeah.
Kershaw.
Yeah. Well, he just did it. Right. A couple of years ago.
Well,
no, but he was the
got
first.
to pay homage to him a little, and I want to hear you guys rap a little bit about what's going on, the current Dodgers. Bring us up to date a little bit. You won today. You got a nice win today. And I thought that was good vibes before coming on the air.
I was getting so frustrated. Did you read my post, Linda? Did Ralph?
Oh, yes.
And just as I was writing that, I'm saying,
I
all right,
wrote something.
now we got to
said, I'm very frustrated, and I thought to myself, for a minute, I thought to myself, well, is it something in my producing? Is there something I didn't do right? No, it wasn't that. You were listening to a game that you had every right to be very frustrated at.
I was watching. Yeah, I was watching.
Oh, you watched? Okay.
And at the moment, I mean, the Arizona had one hit, but it was a home run, and I know the Dodgers woke up a little yesterday, but it looked like it was going right back in the crapper with this hitting problem they've had, and I just was starting to think, are they going to let him lose this game 1-0 when he's on the verge of having maybe his best year? And then there was two out singles, and that's when I posted, well, maybe it's time now. And then two pitches later, I mean, Van Slyke just whacked it. And I said, well, how do you like that? I kind of figured right then and there they were going to win the game, but it was a little tougher, because they never scored any more than the 3 runs.
Right.
But before I let Linda have her turn here, it looks like a couple of people are starting to wake up a little bit. And Turner's last 3-4 games, he's hit about 3 home runs, and he's had multiple hits in some of these games, and even the balls that are getting caught, he's whacking them. They made some great plays in the field in Arizona last night and today. He got robbed again, but anyway, he's coming around. Van Slyke was out the whole season almost, and he hits lefties really good, and they were just talking about that, on the thing, and this guy was a lefty, and he smacked that home run. So he's been missing, so, Ethier's still not back. So there are reasons, and maybe some of the other guys are starting to come around. Kendrick, I think. What do you think, Linda?
Yeah, I think so too, although I didn't get to see most of last night's game and I didn't get to see tonight's game. The 2 games they win recently, I kind of missed out on those. And I've kind of been following just, the reports and what's going on. But sounds to me like, things might be taking a turn for the better. At least they've won 2 in a row, okay?
Well,
Bernie, you said something about Kendrick coming around. Kendrick is a good ball player. Yeah. And there's an expression in baseball that beginning of the year, you could look at a ball player. By the end of the year, he'll be what his baseball card says he'll be.
That's right.
It's all large numbers rather than anything else. And Kendrick, I'm an Angel apologist in the American League and always have been. And he gave them some very, very good years. So
yes, he sure did, yes.
He's a little long in the tooth, I'll say that. But and I don't know, when teams balance themselves, you got Turner's a second baseman, he's a second baseman. I don't understand that. If you have 2 good ball players, why do you have 2 good ball players at the same position? I mean, is there? No, seriously.
No, I don't know.
I'll give you a good example of how teams are out of balance, and that's the Mets. They have absolutely the most dominating pitching staff around, and with all the potential, this, that, and the other thing, they've got to start thinking ahead. You're not going to be able to sign all those guys anyway. Might as well pick out somebody you don't like personally, maybe a Harvey or somebody, and trade him away and see if he can't get some bats just to balance things. It's not just the Mets, not just the Dodgers. I do, as a fantasy baseball team guy with illusions of being a general manager in your head, what would I do? That kind of thing. I think, well, this is pretty obvious that with the Dodgers, if you have, because Kendrick has no experience in left field whatsoever.
No, and there was a couple of plays there that he could have done better with. But, they had injury problems, and they needed to get him in the lineup once he got healthy. Utley was playing so well. Now, Turner is really, he's a vacuum cleaner at third base. Turner's been fantastic.
Turner's been playing third?
Absolutely. Turner is not on set.
Didn't he play second with the Mets?
He probably did, but he's been strictly third with the Dodgers.
Yes,
I understand it now more, but than I did, and he's giving them good numbers, and I don't know how he's doing in the field, but
he's excellent. He's a vacuum cleaner over there. He has been really a rock, to tell you the truth, and he starts hitting like he did for he never hit for the Mets. I'm not sure they ever gave him a chance. They had other guys, and they had Murphy and blah, 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 and if he was a second baseman, what are you going to do? Murphy's still leading the league in hitting for Washington right now.
Yes,
but, the Dodgers had their problems with all the outfielders. They had way too many outfielders. But, they had a problem.
They just got another one. They just got Venable yesterday.
Venable, yeah. I'm not sure why they picked him up, but...
The Venable that was with San Diego, am I correct?
Yeah, that's the same guy.
Yeah, same name, same guy. It's funny how that works that way. As
I
take a little dose.
Max
Venable's kid. Max Venable's kid. That's
right. Will, yeah.
I always like to see a lineage of ball players. Tony Gwynn's kid played.
Sure.
He's retired officially. I think you mentioned that.
Yes, he hosts the post game show for the Dodgers, and so we hear him every night. But
cool. That's right.
Not
you
playing.
mentioned that.
Yeah, not
yeah.
playing.
They cut
it's a shame. He's not that old, but
on the internet.
He's
not.
He's 34.
Oh, interesting.
Tony Jr. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
what's coming up this week with the Dodgers? Anything big?
Well, they've got.
They come home. They're having a home stand, so I look forward to hearing Vin Scully call the games again.
Nice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, listening last week in San Francisco, I realized that the Dodger-Giants rivalry is just not the same without him behind the mic, and it's going to lose a little bit of luster even if it's there on the field. I think it's going to be a lot different when he's not calling those games anymore.
That will be a shame.
I know. He doesn't do them on the road now, but it's going to be really different next year when he's not calling any of them anywhere.
Well, you're not going to have that connection back to Brooklyn anymore.
Right.
I mean, 67 years, and the entire L.A. history. I mean, he's been there from day one.
Right.
So that's going to be very different for you. I mean, for all of us. But I used to just have to watch the Saturday afternoon games when he worked for NBC to get a hear of him. To hear him call a game.
Right. We were really messed up when the Dodgers and Giants, growing up in New York, being kids, when they left. It left a big void on a lot of different levels. When you think of it, the radio announcer, more so than the TV guys, they become your friend. It's almost like, who's talking to you, especially if you're a single person, or even someone who's together with someone who just doesn't communicate well. You hear more from the guy on the radio than you do from your spouse at times. And you miss. It's not just the game that you miss when when the season's over, when a team leaves or whatever. It's that checking in every day, that hearing that same familiar voice. And if I hadn't already said this on one or two hundred shows in the past, I implore everybody, you guys, to go to YouTube and listen to the last inning of Sandy Koufax's perfect game.
I love it.
It's
classic. It is classic.
It's unbelievable. I don't know which to respect more. The fact that Sandy Koufax is finishing a perfect game with 6 strikeouts, or Vin Scully is calling the game and giving me goosebumps.
Yeah.
It was masterful, and wow. If I'm not mistaken, it was against the Giants, and I'm listening to Joey Amalfitano was one of the guys, Harvey Keene.
It was against the Cubs.
Oh, okay. Then, those guys played both for the Giants and the Cubs in their careers, and that's why I thought it was the Giants. Was against the Cubs. Okay, got that.
Didn't the Dodgers only get 1 hit in that game?
You are my editor in every way.
Yes, the Dodgers did only have 1 hit in that game, and they.
Can you imagine that?
That's crazy.
Yeah, right. Reminds me of the Drysdale line when he was away from the team, and Sandy Koufax pitched a no-hitter, and he wasn't there, and he goes, "Wow, did they win?"
That's great. Yeah.
You may remember that in 2008, the Dodgers did win a game in which they were no-hit by the Angels.
Yeah.
Really?
That is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jared
That was when they were going through another one of those funky things about not hitting, and they actually won a game they didn't get a hit in. That was incredible. It was so fitting too, the way things were going.
Yeah.
Do you remember who the pitcher was with the Angels?
It was Jared Weaver. Jared Weaver.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
That was in 2008. I was in Europe at the time, and I remember that I was, because I was 8 hours ahead, and I was getting up early to listen to the ends of the games that were played in LA. So I just caught the end of that.
Wow.
That is something.
What were you doing in Europe? How'd you get the good fortune?
Well, my mother is a genealogist, and she loves family history. And years ago, she had traced our family history to some royalty in England, and so the American Family Association of this particular branch of which is called the Clopton Family Association, organizes these trips over to the old town of Long Melford, England, which is in Suffolk County, and every 6 years they have a trip over there for the U.S. descendants, and so I've been on that trip twice, and it's really good.
Wow.
It's fun.
Is London or England the only country you visit, or do you go all over Europe?
Well, no, and they actually have, what you do is they have 1 week in this small town, the ancestral village, and then some people do stay and go to other countries, but that's an optional thing, and it takes place after the main part of the trip. But I didn't. I have been to just England, Scotland, and Ireland. I haven't been to any other European countries.
Okay.
Well, there's plenty of them to go see. I love going over there. I want to do some more. But you have to go down and get the American newspaper and try to catch up on all the baseball scores,
Well, no, the nice thing is now with the Internet, I could actually follow the game on the Internet. That was great.
That's true. I didn't have that all the times that I went over there.
Yeah, the first time I ever went, out of the country, it was in the middle of baseball season, and that was before the internet. And I thought, oh, what am I going to do?
Right,
but yes,
right.
It certainly made traveling easier.
Now it's with the smartphones and the tablets and all this stuff. Yeah, it's easy now.
Yes.
Anyway, so let's
the
get
internet,
back
I had
to
my genealogy checked in the same way you did, and it turns out I'm first generation.
You're first.
I'm first generation.
Oh,
never mind.
Okay.
It's just
I got it.
silly little me.
yeah.
Did you go and perform in Europe, Barn?
No,
for those of you
no.
who don't know, you're a jazz musician, a piano player on the
blues, really, but blues and rock more so than jazz.
More than jazz. Okay, well,
yeah.
To me, jazz is blues, so
Right.
I noticed I posted a Mose Allison song the other day, and you picked right up on that. We never talked about Mose, but I just have a feeling that he's your man too.
Oh, that's some great stuff.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Did you entertain overseas?
No. That was just strictly, personal travel.
Oh, okay. Nice.
We went over about 7 times now. We're hoping to, do a few more because, there's so many great places to go see. I just love the history and all that. Just like with the sports history, So it's great stuff. And I'm looking at the lineup here, and I still don't know. They got to get production out of the catcher spot. They have to get production from these other guys that are just not hitting, like Hernandez and Peterson. I wanted to talk about him. Now, he hit 2 home runs yesterday, but I need to see consistency before I start thinking, oh, boy, he's coming around. Because he's got the swing where he can hit something out every now and then, but if he's going to strike out as that much and just hit 230, it's not going to cut it. What do you think?
It's not. No, I absolutely agree. And that's a problem going back to last year when he had a great first half and then everybody adjusted in the second half and he really struggled all through the rest of the season.
Right, and since then he's had a tough time.
Yes. So.
But that being said,
how do you guys see Puig as Puig?
Puig
coming along.
Go ahead, Linda.
Any progress whatsoever?
Well, I know everybody else's opinion. I guess I'm just one of the ones who keeps thinking it's going to happen, that he's going to come back to what he was a couple of years ago. We've actually only seen him play a full season once, and I think he hit 296 that season. The other, he was injured a good part of one season, and then he only played half of the 2013 season. So we really only have one full season we can gauge him on, and he did okay that. I mean, he did pretty well that year, but his power numbers weren't as high as I expected them to be.
They're way, way down. I can't help but feel like it just might be too late for him, or he may need a change of scenery, or he may need to go somewhere else to learn that you have some money now, but you still have to put yourself into the game and play, because he just seems lost. And
I don't know. I think I wish that they would have somebody working with him on the on the mechanics and everything, because they've done a lot of work with him in the off season about just how to become a mature player, and it seems like he's done a lot better in that way. He's come around as far as acting his age, I guess.
Is there anybody on the Dodger coaching staff or the manager himself that can take a hand? Was Mattingly doing anything last year, or
I don't think so.
Does he
fact,
miss Mattingly?
No, Puig has made comments about how he really likes working or playing for Roberts, and how Roberts has really reached out to him and worked with him on understanding the big picture. But apparently, even though he's improved in some areas, he just hasn't found that consistency like offensively.
Right, and his power numbers are way down. So what is going to happen, boys and girls, when Ethier is healthy and then Puig is healthy, and let's say Thompson, his batting average is at 258, but that could easily get back to 280. I mean, he's got 10 home runs. Whose development do you want to see more, Thompson, Puig? I'm not even sure. And who's going to play? I mean, you have...
I've got a feeling there's going to be a lot of platooning. I just do,
Yeah, well, and I don't like that.
Biggest upside?
I don't either.
But the biggest upside potential.
Yeah, oh, I know. I mean, I maybe it's just unrealistic of me, but I just keep thinking it's going to happen. Maybe because I joked the other day about how I'm the Pollyanna of this broadcast, and so I always feel like everything's going to be okay. But anyway,
I used to be that way, but
after so many years,
I don't want to say 28 years of no World Series.
Right. I totally understand.
It's not just that.
I used to be that way, and then I became a Met fan. Try being a Pollyanna as a Met fan.
Yeah, right. I understand. I totally understand.
Because I'm starting to feel like I'm starting to get a little understanding what it might be like to be a Cubs fan, except it's not quite that bad. The Dodgers have always made the playoffs through all these 28 years. Yeah, there's a few years here they don't make it. They've always been in and around.
Yeah.
Yet they've only made the championship series maybe 5 times, maybe more.
5 times since when?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a few that Torrey had the 2, and we had one a couple of years ago. But
they've had 3. They've been to the NLCS 3 times since the '88 World Series.
Right. Exactly.
Were you guys happy with Torrey as a manager?
No, I'll tell you, I was not. I did not think that Torrey managed the pitching staff very well, and I understand a lot of that would have been because he was an American League manager for so long. I didn't think, and other people had told me too. Other people had said, well, he doesn't manage as well in the National League as he does in the AL. And I just, he had a really good, obviously he didn't have Clayton Kershaw in his prime, but he did have a pretty good pitching staff, and I felt that it was, especially with Jonathan Broxton, I think he should have removed him from the closer's role long before he ever was.
Absolutely.
I just,
Don't remind me.
I had issues with some of Torrey's, little ways of managing, but I mean, you can't completely fault him when he was always pretty much a winning manager as far as once he got to the Yankees and beyond. But didn't he manage the Mets way back when? Didn't he?
Managed the Mets. He managed the Braves. I think he managed.
They didn't give him a chance.
He didn't do very well in the National League. He had a sub 500 record, I believe, managing in the National League.
Well, he didn't have the team either.
That's true.
Those
That's
teams,
true. Right.
Those teams were not ready, and they didn't give him a chance. It's kind of like the way it was with Pete Carroll. The Patriots, the Jets, the 49ers. Even though he was not the head coach, he was a defensive coach. They didn't give him a chance. And then when somebody did give him a chance, look what he gets done. And except for one major mistake, he would have won 2 Super Bowls in a row. But that's another sport, and that's
true.
Right, and that's another thing. But no, I wasn't thrilled with Torrey, but we went to 2 championship series in a row, and we hadn't done that in a while. So
That's true.
You know.
It had been 20 years since they had done that.
What were Mattingly's shortcomings, and how come he got a job so quickly after failing with the Dodgers? That surprises me.
Well,
because
he went to a small market team where the expectations aren't quite as high.
Okay.
Well, Loria was always a huge Yankee fan, and he loved Mattingly. Like he was his favorite player. And as soon as Mattingly was out, and don't forget, I lived down here, it was already in the paper that he's coming to the Marlins. I mean, I'm talking about an hour later.
Yeah, there was talk
there you go. So that's, the job was like here waiting for him. All he had to do was say yes. I obviously I can tell you one thing. I wasn't buying a package all the time, so I haven't seen as many games as Linda sees. But I will say that from everything that I understand is it wasn't all Mattingly's fault. I don't know about this new front office. They butted in his business way too much. Let the man manage the team. And I don't believe that that's what was going on. So
I think
I'm not sure.
Yeah, with Roberts, they collaborate with him, and I understand that it's got to be frustrating,
Yeah.
Anybody coming up in the farm that you guys have, farm system that you have your eye on, that you're looking to the future a little bit? You can say, well, maybe some of these guys come up and push the envelope.
Well, mostly it's furious, and now he's up.
Oh, okay.
Right. He looks a little nervous, doesn't he?
Well, you know what, though? He did have a good start in San Francisco. What I was looking for, what I kept thinking, it was, his fourth Major League start, and he finally, I had mentioned to you guys earlier that I thought maybe this will be the one where he gets into the groove. Because he's already been thrown out to, the Wolves and all these big games, like starting the opening game against the Mets a couple of weeks back, on the road. I don't think I'd want to have that as my Major League start.
Well, there's a young guy. He's a first baseman. I'm going to try and get his name. I can't think of his name.
I know who you mean, and I'm trying to blank too. I know who you mean.
He was lighting up preseason. He was lighting up spring training. And what is he? 21.
I think so. Yeah.
Obviously, Gonzo's there, but this kid is supposed to have all the tools. And so let me see if I can find his name. But he's the one, and I've been wanting to get into it and see who's. I was always wondering why Zach Lee never made it up, but he came up for a little while last year and wasn't really impressive. He was a guy that. Yeah, I don't really know why. Let's see, I can't find it. But anyway, but there are some young kids down there that.
Bellinger.
Bellinger, that's it.
Yeah.
Bellinger.
That's it. And Cody Bellinger. Okay.
Yeah, he's somebody that we've got our eye on, but he's probably in AA because I don't see him here on the roster for AAA.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I lost track of him.
And there was also
a rumor out there that Milwaukee may be shopping Ryan Braun.
Oh, yes, and we've heard the rumors that the Giants are very interested.
Well, no, yeah. I was wondering. I've heard that too, but I was wondering, are the Dodgers at all interested?
Well, there you go. There's another
outfielder. Well, what is he doing now that he's apparently drug-free?
He's doing very well, which is surprising. Either that or he's not drug-free. He might have a better mask than they're testing for.
Well, that's true, too. Very good.
And it's not just him. I would say that about the possibility of any player in baseball. Would not shock me if tomorrow morning it comes up, this guy tested positive, that guy tested positive. It's not going to go away, and we just can't let it ruin our appreciation of the game. We just have to compare era by era as opposed to trying to look back and say, well, was Barry Bonds better than Ted Williams or this, that, and the other thing? You can't. You can just compare them to who's playing today. And I have to say, for me, that takes an awful lot away from it. You know, I used to spend hours in the record books, you know, going back.
Yeah.
Don't do that so much anymore because what's a record? You know, is it pre, post, during? That's one of the things that's taken some of the sprinkles off the ice cream cone of baseball.
Aw.
But
well, you know, weren't some of the pitchers also on steroids? I mean, the 73 home runs, or McGuire's 70 home runs, or Sosa's 66. All right, we've never seen that. We're probably never going to see it again. But if the pitchers were also juicing, then maybe
Clemens is a distinct possibility of someone who's been tied to the possibility,
exactly.
you know, the chances. And I'll tell you something. It's never really been officially brought out. But if Nolan Ryan wasn't juicing, I'll fly a kite to Maryville.
Well,
this guy, it just doesn't happen. There are no freaks of nature along those lines because guys, there's like the bell curve of how guys go when they age, and so you see some guy play into their you say, wow, it's tremendous. Would it shock you if Ichiro, who's 44 years old and looks like he's 30, plays like he's 30, wouldn't even shock me if he were doing it.
Well, D. Gordon was.
Yeah, that's right. And he's sitting out for a little while. And, that came right after a World Series. So, go figure.
It's unbelievable. But, you know, I mean, Barry Bonds, come on. He belongs in the Hall of Fame. No
question.
You know, I think
at this point, I'm convinced that put all these guys in, but just make note on the plaque that they played in an era that might distort their statistics. You can't argue it because
exactly.
Otherwise, you're throwing away 30 years, basically not 30 years, but a decade of excitement. I went to his 500th home run.
Perry Adams threw that pitch. I remember that.
Yes, again, it was against the Dodgers. They stopped the game, and he was pissed.
Yeah, I know he was.
And because he had to warm up on the side. They brought Willie Mays out. They brought Covey out. They brought dogs going through flaming hoops. It was a sideshow, and to think, when I look back upon it, I thought, wow, as a fan, that was like one of my biggest fandom moments.
Yeah.
And to think that, what were we watching? I remember going, wow, this guy is so dialed in. There's nobody who's ever been in baseball that's been this dialed in. And I realized, well, he did get help. No question about it. And in answer to the question about pitchers, I don't think as many pitchers as batters were doing it, only because the emphasis was on the home run. And Sosa and McGuire and all of that was, I don't think the pitchers knew the idea. You know, you're building up bulk like that as a pitcher. I don't know, but it does help.
Well, I always was on the player's side, you know, even through all the collusion stuff back in the 70s and all this nonsense. But, you know, I mean, can you blame Bonds whether he took it by accident or not? And can you blame A-Rod? They're watching Sosa and McGuire, and they're getting all this acclaim. Everybody's going crazy. The networks, the owners, and now the owners, they were all in on this, you know. They wanted this. The stuff was not illegal, and they loved it. It brought baseball back. It gave them what they were missing. And then all of a sudden to have the owners, and especially the writers, have this attitude that these guys are the worst thing that ever happened. Look, cheating is no good. But the fact that it was brought on by the owners themselves, you can't fault these guys. There are guys that belong in the Hall of Fame, and there are guys that don't. I don't know that Rafael Palmeiro gets in anyway, you know, and it's pretty obvious he wouldn't have hit 50 home runs if he wasn't juicing. But Bonds and, you know, McGuire hit 49 his rookie season. He wasn't juicing. I mean, he probably would have hit 500 home runs anyway. You know, I don't know. But
he's a guy that does not, even with or without the record, does not belong in the Hall of Fame.
Right, because his batting average is very mediocre. Batting
average is low. He's hurt a lot.
Exactly.
Not a Hall of Fame player. He had a Hall of Fame year, number of Hall of Fame years. And,
well, usually 500 home runs got you in the Hall, no matter what you did.
Yeah, because you're right. Because Harmon Killebrew had the same thing. He did his average.
Exactly. Here's a great question for Ralph. Let me ask you this, because I think Dave Kingman hit about 450. I'm not sure about that. But if he didn't miss by much. If Dave Kingman would have hit 500 home runs, he'd be in the Hall of Fame, wouldn't he? It used to be the standard there.
Yes. Yeah, he probably would.
And he wouldn't really deserve it, except he hit 500 home runs. And that was the benchmark. So, you know, it's hard to say.
3,000 hits the same way.
Exactly. And 300 wins or 3,000 strikeouts, well, more than 300 wins, which you're really never going to see anymore. But, which is a shame in a sense. But the game has changed, too. So.
And it's not all based on wins. You could take Sandy Koufax and you could say, well, he put together these 7 incredible years.
Absolutely.
Incredible years, but his career was shortened. And you get there are all kinds of intangibles too. Like I think had Newcombe came up real big in those World Series, he might have been in consideration for the Hall.
True. That's true.
Remember, he came up to a lot of these black players, African American players. They crossed the line, as it were, in those days, had already left the major part of their career in the Negro Leagues or Monty Irvin.
Well, certainly a lot of the big stars like Josh Gibson and all. But with Nuke, he had 1 year in the Negro Leagues, and then he broke through. So and he was a young guy, so it was the right time for him, luckily. But you're right about that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There are a lot of different factors. It's not. You're right. It's not just the season stats. I know.
Yeah, and did you dominate with me? And I'm a big proponent of getting Gil Hodges in the Hall of Fame. He was the best.
And a lot of people I have met on Facebook are also a proponent of that.
Right, and I'll tell you something. The Facebook experience, the learning from the folks on these sites, has really turned my thinking around in terms of Gil Hodges. Also, what turned it around was the idea that one can combine the play, and they specifically said in the instructions to the voters for this last time when Hodges was excluded instead of included, they specifically said that it would be okay to combine the managerial career with the playing career.
Yeah, that's what I had heard. Now, but I didn't actually I didn't know the source. I've heard people say that.
Well, that's
the Hall of Fame said that.
Right. That's interesting if they want to go that way.
There are so many people that are so outraged that Gill didn't get in this last time. And his managerial career was so incredibly outstanding, cut short, of course, by his early demise. But he led that 69 team where no one but him believed that they had a chance of winning, and he passed that on to the clubhouse, and that was truly a miracle. I mean,
it was, because in the middle of August they were still in last place. Well, it's the middle of July.
They really?
Middle of July, not August. But that was the first year they split the league. That was the first year of divisional play, and but still, I mean, they ended up obviously being the best team in the league, and getting Don Clendenin at the trade deadline was like huge. But
absolutely,
yeah, he brought them to where nobody thought they were going, and it was fantastic. But here's the thing: he did not have 2,000 hits. He did not have 400 home runs. I mean, that never got anybody in. I hate to say it.
And speaking of coming up short, I remember he was doing so poorly in the World Series one year that the church, the main church in Brooklyn that he went to, had a Pray for Gil Hodges service.
Yes, they did.
And I've always taken all kinds of religion tongue-in-cheek. I think it's all silliness. Whatever. You know, you get to wear this hat, I get to wear that hat. You know, so this, from a family of socialist atheists who are watching this and going, what are they making of this, of worship and deity and all of that, praying for Gil Hodges to break his slump in the church? You know, pray for the crippled kid on the crutch.
Yeah. Well, it was a famous thing. He had an offer. I forget what year it was, but he did have an offer in the series, and it's well documented, I guess.
Right. I don't know if that's what I think. From everything I've taken in, from all the mavens, the Dodger historians, what I've taken in the most is that in the 1969 World Series, that little instance where Cleon Jones got scuffed, he got the ball scuffed, and they came up with the ball and stuff, that pissed Earl Weaver off to the point where, and this guy was maniacal anyway, where 15, 20 years later, he's on the Old Timers Committee, and that and a combination of Ted Williams didn't like him, didn't like Hodges very much, and Ted Williams, people conspired to keep him off. Campy was supposed to come to an Old Timers voting thing, got sick, couldn't come. They didn't count his vote. He called it.
Well, I've heard that too, but I've also heard a different version of it. That's not exactly the way it happened, and I've been trying to get some kind of, clarification on that, because it would seem like it was really unfair if it happened that way. But I mean, everybody I've asked for, some source on that, nobody's ever given me any. So I don't tend to just believe things because people repeat them.
Right. Well, Hodges, his last year of eligibility, got 63%.
Right.
And that's not missing by a whole lot.
After all those years, why didn't he get in the writers?
So he was respected. He was well respected, and obviously, even though some of those stats I just mentioned were a little short, he must have done a lot in his career to be getting all those votes.
Well, I think he was also regarded very much as a great teammate and part of a very great beloved team that had so many fans that it can mean that nostalgia plays into that a lot rather than
you've got Snyder, you got Reese is already in, you got Robinson in, Campy of course, yes.
It was a great team. Yeah.
Hey, you guys are terrific. I'm glad you're carrying on. Peter will be back next week, and I enjoy listening to you when I'm not talking.
Well, thank you. We're having a lot of fun with this, aren't we?
I'll be enjoying next week's show a lot more than I did listening to me. So I hope I didn't hog it for you. And
not at all.
Hope you guys are happy and having fun with it. That's what it's all about. Is just enjoying it. Your passion shows through. Yeah, I hear it in your voice, all three of you, and it's nice to have you on the network.
Oh.
I'm happy.
Thanks, Ralph.
Yeah,
my
I'm
pleasure.
enjoying it.
Thank you both. And Peter, if you're listening, thank you. We will. You guys will be back next week, and I just want to tell everybody out there to keep on keeping on. That's the best we can do.
This Sunday is Father's Day, so I've got to get a little plug in here. Happy Father's Day to everybody. But the Dodgers are giving out. The Dodgers are giving out at the game. One of the promotional item is Dodger boxer shorts.
Oh, great!
So.
All right.
That's funny.
Okay.
Well, if you go, I won't get into going commando or anything. You get
go out and get a
shorts.
Go out and get a Dodger dog and a pair of boxers.
If the Dodgers aren't doing
there
well,
you go. I like it. Yeah.
There were another team shorts. This way, you always win.
Oh boy.
And it simply does bring a new dimension to take me out to the ball game. Okay.
It does. Very good.
I'm sorry for my corn, but not all that sorry, I got to admit. That's part of me. Hang in there, everybody. My appreciation to you guys. Thank you again.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Good
Talk
night,
to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.